Hello everyone, welcome back. I just wanted to take a few moments of your time to talk about a couple of things that are pretty controversial at the moment. And one of them I'll just say outright is Star Trek Discovery, or at least the fandom involved. And of course the Ghostbusters reboot 2016 slash the 2020 pending Ghostbusters sequel of the original that is coming out next year. The reason why I wanted to talk about that a little bit is because a fellow YouTube colleague of mine, among others, have been shamed a lot because of their, shall we say, negative opinions of Star Trek Discovery, the nonsense that's been happening with the Star Wars franchise, Doctor Who, Ghostbusters, I mean the list goes on. Let me just point out outright that I'm a big Star Trek fan, always have been my whole life. Of course, I mean from its next gen era all the way forward, and then obviously I wasn't born yet when the original series came around. But as I grew up, those were in reruns on television late at night. Those of you who are old enough to remember watching things on TV late at night back in the day. And so anyway, long story short is that I've been a Trek fan all of my life, and you know what? When the news of a new Star Trek series called Discovery was coming out, I admit I was excited. Hell, I was even at the premiere. And I met the cast a couple of times, got autographs, photo ops, the whole 9 yards. And I don't mind telling you that what I saw I was not impressed with. Yes, it's visually very stunning, but in my humble opinion, it didn't really look anything like the Star Trek that I remembered. And honestly, all that started back in 2009. But I'm not here to bash the show per se or anything. I'm just here to address the issue of this whole shaming thing. I don't think it's particularly fair. Just because a person is a harsh critic of Star Trek Discovery like I am, or others, does not make us more or less of a fan than them. And, you know, it's okay to not like a show or shows based on its own merits and have nothing to do with being sexist or misogynist or racist or any of those kinds of other things. I don't like Star Trek Discovery because I just think it's garbage. And I don't like it because the storytelling is just bad. They don't follow canon, the 50 years of Star Trek history that has been previously established with well-known characters. And they just don't seem, I don't think the powers that be really understand that canon, really understand that and respect that universe of which they are so intimately involved with. I see it more now as a cash grab. They see it as how many CBS All Access subscribers we can get, and of course that money is obviously very well reflected in the production. I mean, it looks visually very stunning, cinematic quality, and the music is good. I like Jeff Russo's work, and this is no fault of the actors or the crew or anything, but it just doesn't resonate with me. I feel like my Star Trek ended in 2005 when Enterprise went off the air. And I know that show has its own critics. But the thing is, I personally, I have never gone around telling anyone you're an idiot or you're a hater or you're a gatekeeper or you're racist or misogynist or sexist or anything because you don't like this show or that show. You know, and these people who have been kind of screaming down our throats about it, I guess everyone seems to forget that we had a black captain named Benjamin Sisko, who happens to be my favorite. We had a female captain named Janeway, who was probably one of the most badass female characters in Star Trek history. And I can go on and on and on. And shaming in any form is uncalled for. And, you know, and in my entire life, of course, I have never seen an actor or any people associated with actors or crew members or production staff or anything like that involved in a Star Trek series or Ghostbusters film just outright attack the fan base because of their harsh criticisms of said show or movie. Somehow that doesn't seem right. These are the people who made the show or movies successful as they are now. And I'm not going to be one of those people to say I made you. But the fact of the matter is, if we didn't watch the shows, if we didn't go to the movies, these shows or films would have bombed, in their respective financial performances. So it's just one of those things that it's just a very touchy subject, and it's unfortunate that people resort to such negative and nasty behavior. I've never said you shouldn't like Star Trek Discovery because it's garbage. I just say I think Star Trek Discovery is garbage based on the storytelling, based on the way I think it doesn't follow canon visually and storytelling wise. And the same thing with Ghostbusters. When the news of a all-female Ghostbusters cast was going to be in this film, I was like, okay, that's not bad. But I was more pissed off or annoyed at the time because it was not a sequel to the original films, but rather a poor knockoff reboot that simply just cashes in on all the popularity that made Ghostbusters what it is. It's basically, in my opinion, just a bunch of chicks running around cosplaying at Ghostbusters. Does that mean that I'm sexist? No. I never said a woman couldn't be a Ghostbuster. Hell, when we were kids, when I was kids playing with my friends and stuff on the blocks and stuff like that back in the day, whenever we would play Ghostbusters or Cops and Robbers or anything like that, the girls were always just as much as part of our playing team as anybody else. It was never any kind of, oh, you're a girl, you can't bust a ghost, you can be the receptionist. It was never anything like that. Same thing with Star Trek or anything, So it has nothing to do with race. Definitely has nothing to do with race because I am a person of color, I come from a very proud, mixed, diverse cultural family and history and background. And again, all of that being said, it doesn't make Star Trek, it doesn't make me any less of a fan because I don't like the damn show. There's nothing wrong with not liking the show. I love The Next Generation. I love Deep Space Nine. I love Voyager. I love the original series. I love the animated series. I love Star Trek Enterprise. And, of course, the first 10 movies. And as far as anybody's concerned, as far as I'm concerned, that's where I drew the line. Have I been open to Star Trek Discovery? Yes. I am a CBS All Access subscriber. And that's another thing. How can people belittle and put down somebody who is a paying customer? These are people who have the 7 or 10 or whatever the fee is every month taken out of their respective bank accounts so that they can sit down and watch the show. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And at the end of the day, it is a TV show. Star Trek doesn't pay my bills. My job does. These other people who make fun of me or make fun of other people online and these trolling and these Twitter posts and these Facebook messages and these comments trying to get people blocked just because they don't share an opinion. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. And if you want my honest opinion, it goes against everything that Star Trek stands for. A lot of people, a lot of fans I know want to scream the whole infinite diversity and infinite combinations thing. Until somebody says, I disagree with you, and then all the fighting words come out. And I don't think that's right. If Star Trek is supposed to be about this big, diverse, welcoming group of people of all races, creeds, religious backgrounds, and sexual orientations, then it shouldn't be a problem if somebody comes along and says, hey, I think that doesn't quite fit, and I think that sucks. That person should be able to stand right alongside somebody who says, I love it, I think it's awesome. There are plenty of people I've met throughout my life who said, hey, I don't like Deep Space Nine, or I don't like Voyager, or I don't like Enterprise. Now, to me, in joking sense, I've just given a collective, what? But that doesn't mean, and I joke about it with them and tell them, in a silly way, like, oh, you're dumb for not liking that, but, That's a far cry from stalking people and threatening people with violence and asking other people to threaten people and perform violent acts upon people, whether online or in person, or any kind of bullying of any kind. Should not be tolerated, and we are better than that. We are better than that. You know, and of course, as far as Ghostbusters is concerned, it didn't help that the actress Leslie Jones decided to go on a Twitter rant. I would say not even a few days after Jason Reitman put the trailer out there, or the teaser trailer out there, and announced the news to the Ghostbusters world and to the world at large that we would be getting a proper Ghostbusters sequel set in the original continuity of the original 2 films. Now, for somebody like me, that's what I've been wanting since 1989. I didn't want to reboot, you know. And again, keyword, did anything I just say mention I didn't want to cast filled with just women? No. And unfortunately, my criticism of the 2016 Answer the Call Ghostbusters film is that it felt like a political agenda. It's just a bunch of man-bashing, men-hating people, or I guess in this case it would be women who just wanted to promote this female superiority thing. I can sit here and deconstruct the who, what, when, where, and why, but you can watch the film yourself and form your own opinion. And, you know, I've always thought that when they go on camera, or when someone goes on camera, or actually even in the film, but towards the end, they are watching some video on YouTube, and they're basically reading all of the comments that were made in real life about all of the about the trailer that was released, that became probably the most hated trailer of all time, all YouTube history and of all time. You know, how does that encourage a fan base? Making fun of them because they think your movie sucks, or they think your movie's gonna suck. You know, if I were making a movie, and if I had the power to make a movie, and I saw all of those comments saying, "This looks like garbage. What the heck are they thinking?" I probably would, you know, take a step back and think, maybe these people might be onto something. Maybe I'm the one who has my head in the clouds and doesn't quite have the bigger picture. I think any reasonable person would come up with that. But no, they want to go out there and attack people and call them basement dwellers and ghost bros or anything else. It has nothing to do with that. And to be fair, there are many people out there who didn't like the film because it was women. And there are people out there who did not like it for other reasons. I just happened to be one of the people who did not find any of that main cast very funny. Even the cameos by the original cast members from Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 felt kind of forced, and I got the impression that they were there to fulfill some contractual obligations, not because they really wanted to be there. On the other hand, it just seems like now there's more hope because we get this third Ghostbusters film that we've always wanted, and Leslie Jones didn't even let the news sink in for a few days before she had to come up on this rant. And, you know, I've been attacked so many times. I've lost a couple of friends in the process over an opinion. Over an opinion. I never said that they couldn't like it. I never said that they shouldn't. I just say I don't like it. And, again, to be fair, I still pay to go see the damn thing. I still pay to see the CBS All Access to have it, to watch Star Trek Discovery or anything else. So it's not like I'm stealing it, downloading it for free, doing anything illegal, immoral, or anything like that. I want to watch good Star Trek. Good moral implication, good moral story, so a few decent space battles every once in a while, with some good music scoring in the background, and something that reminds me of that optimism and hope for the future that I remember from all the rest of Star Trek's history. Pretty much. And as for Ghostbusters, I wanted a sequel. Not a reboot. And again, prequel, reboot, whatever, that was my problem with Star Trek Discovery too, is that instead of having a sequel set after Star Trek Nemesis, after Star Trek Voyager, we got another prequel, which didn't make any sense to me at all. Now, I know we have the Picard series coming out, and that's a whole other thing, which is pretty much what fans wanted. But it took us this long to get that far. You figure since 2005 till 2018, now 19, we are just now going to be getting a sequel set after Voyager and Nemesis. And think about this from a business standpoint. In 2001, we got Star Trek Enterprise. Now, as rocky as that was, and I grew to like it over the years, you know, it found its place. And it got good, and it got canceled. But it was a prequel, set 100 years before the original series. Star Trek Enterprise gets canceled, and then we have 2009 Star Trek, a few years later, which is a reboot, set alternate timeline based on the original series. So again, it's going back to the original series. Then we fast forward now to Star Trek Discovery, which is another prequel to the original series. You know, I just think Michael Burnham is a terrible character, or as I say, Michael Burningham. It's a terrible character, poorly written. You know, I think Anson Mount as Captain Pike is probably one of the better things. I just completely disagree with the fact that the need to show the Enterprise at all was a good idea, because it wasn't. As cool as it was, it just wasn't needed. We didn't need to see Spock. We don't need Spock. We don't need any of that. If this is supposed to be 10 years before the original series, it's supposed to be about Discovery, this crew, this mission, and that's it. You know? And they say, oh, yeah, just hang out with us, bear with us. We're going to lead you right into the original series the way you always remember it. But it doesn't seem that way. They disregard canon left and right and pick and choose which things they want to honor and which things they choose not to honor. You know, as a Star Trek fan, I don't want to see tidbits of things in the background. Yeah, as much as that's cool to see a Tribble sitting on someone's shelf, or you know, or some other, or Vulcan loot sitting in someone's quarters or something. I want good Star Trek storytelling that leads and blends with everything else. That's it. But again, I just wanted to say one more time that bullying in any form is not good. It is not who we are, and it should not be tolerated. Period. We're all people. We all have likes and dislikes, and we should all be respectful of those things, whether we like those things or dislike those things or not. And to shame someone, to bully somebody, to harass somebody, to harass a woman on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on or whatever platform any person is using to get their opinion across, if they're going to be attacked, there's something seriously wrong there. And I just hope that we all take a step back and think about this. And this is how we really want to be? Do we really want to fight amongst ourselves because of an opinion over a show? Not with all this other crap going on in the world right now. You know, we have to be better than this, you know? If we should be reaching out to people. You know, I have friends on different sides of the political spectrum, on different sides of the social spectrum, that I could sit down and have a conversation with and talk to and learn a thing or two. I mean, it happens almost all the time to sit back and think, oh yeah, I didn't quite think of that way. I didn't think of it that way. Well, I never thought of that. You know, it happens to me all the time. And it adds more to my knowledge, and it's part of learning and growing and building and having relationships with people. But anyway, I know I've kind of ranted and gone off the rails a little bit and gotten back on the rails or whatnot. But the important thing that I just want you to remember is that we're all fans. Those of us who are Star Trek fans and fans of these various franchises, we're all fans for various reasons and in various levels of intensity. But that doesn't make one person any more or less than another. Maybe one person has more money. Maybe one person has more experience based on age. Maybe one person has more access to production members and cast members or whatnot. Maybe one person has more collectibles than another, or maybe one has more knowledge than another, but that doesn't mean that any of them are less or more or greater than the other. And we should all treat each other with respect and the same dignity, and we would want people to treat us. We would want to treat we would want to treat people the way we want them to treat us. That's it. So I'm sorry for taking so much of your time, but this has been a really touchy subject lately, and you know, if there are any Star Trek actors or production members or anything out there, or Ghostbusters people or anything out there watching and listening, just please remember that we are people too. We have opinions, good and bad, and you know, if you respect us, we'll respect you, and that's really all there is to it. So, until next time, live long and prosper, be well and be safe, and take care of yourself and each other.